Hey everybody, this video brings us back out to King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Yes, 2 days of King of Prussia in a row. But yesterday, as I was coming back home from the location we were at yesterday, I had to pull over and check something out. Something that I knew was here, something that I seen before driving past this. Because again, I used to work right down the road, right down this road, right down there is where the American Baptist Churches was. So right here, Moore Road, again in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, I have driven up and down hundreds, if not thousands of times before, and I'd actually seen what is right here, but I never actually got to read it because it's a very lengthy sign, and when you're driving past it, obviously you're not going to be able to read it. This is something you'd have to pull over to actually read and check out. So yesterday I figured I was finally going to pull over and check out this historical marker here, and it turns out something pretty amazing happened here. And we're going to take a look at something pretty cool today. So the reason why this is called Moore Road, well, we're going to find out in a second. As the sign says, George Washington. While in Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention, Washington traveled here to the farm home of Jane Moore. He arrived on July 30th, 1787, and remained 2 days accompanied by Governor Morris, a Pennsylvania delegate to the convention. On July 31st, while Morris fished for trout, Washington rode over the grounds, talking with local farmers and revisiting the sites of the 1777-1778 Valley Forge encampment, which overlapped with the Moore property, which is indeed true. Right where we're at right now is sort of the Valley Forge area, maybe about a whole 5-minute walk that direction is the actual Valley Forge National Historical Park. So here in 1787, 10 years after the actual encampment of Valley Forge, George Washington came back to this area and stayed here at the Jane Moore house. And look at this. Right here is the old entrance to the actual property, the old stone wall. There's no way to drive up here now, but this is the way you used to actually enter the property. We're gonna walk back to the property. I had no idea this existed. Even though I worked out here for 14 years of my life, I've driven out here so many times. I've driven directly past this so many times. I had no idea that back here in the woods, back surrounded by all of this like industrial complex sort of area, there's all these buildings here. I shouldn't say industrial complex, but all these office buildings, this office complex. Surrounded by this office complex is something pretty awesome that, again, I had no idea sat back here. Just goes to show you, you never know what bit of history might be right on top of you, right underneath your nose, which is why when people always tell me my area is not historical, I have nothing historic in my area, nothing ever important happened in my area, I always say do your research because you never know. And right here is the Jane Moore house. Look at this. Right here's an old garage. Check this out. I don't think this, well, I don't know. I was gonna say I don't think this is part of the original structure, but it looks really old, so I'm not entirely sure what this dates back to. Look at this. This is completely collapsed. There's no roof left on this this garage here. Look at these flowers I'm walking through right now. What kind of flowers are these? Comments down below if you know. So this is pretty amazing. Like I said, I had no idea this was here. Everybody who works in these office buildings knew this was here, but I had no idea. I've never driven back into this office complex. Never had any reason to ever come back here. As you can see, this definitely at one point was a garage. I love the fact that there's actually a master lock on the door. That's not doing anything anymore. So again, the Jane Moore house here in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. This is actually the headquarters for General Muhlenberg during the encampment at Valley Forge. So this is a pre-Revolutionary War house, although it's been built up over the decades and centuries. This house was built up. It was a much smaller house back when George Washington stayed here and during the encampment at Valley Forge. And then as the property changed hands over time, it was built up into the very large house you're actually seeing right now. But like I said, this was the headquarters for General Muhlenberg. And that name sounds familiar. Muhlenberg sounds familiar. He was actually the reverend, the minister for the Augustus Lutheran Church in Trapp, Pennsylvania. We've actually been to his grave. He was the founder and the minister of that church. So again, history coming full circle. He was actually a general also in the Revolutionary War, and he actually served here in Valley Forge under George Washington, and this was his headquarters. So pretty awesome. Look at this. There's a really cool archway here. We're gonna walk through here. This is pretty amazing. Look at that. So right now, this is actually not really being used for anything. It's owned by the township. And from what I was reading, for many years, this actually served as the Parks and Recreation offices. And then in 1995, they actually left here because of structural issues. The house is not in the greatest of condition, and ever since they actually left, the house has been kind of in a bit of a limbo. Again, from what I was reading online, they don't really know what to do with this structure. There was all kinds of talk on turning it into different things, turning it into like a historical sort of museum, turning it into a bed and breakfast. Actually, they apparently were talking about maybe possibly turning it into like a food sort of cafeteria area for the actual offices that are here, which I think would actually be kind of cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to see this as an actual museum or something like that. That'd be kind of neat. But the idea of all these offices that are here having like a common sort of cafeteria, common place to eat, I think that's kind of cool. So I don't know. Something needs to be done with this structure though, because since 1995, they haven't really known what to do with it. There's a lot of upkeep and a lot of money that has to be put into this property to get it back into the shape they need it to be in for people to actually be able to go inside here and hang out and whatnot, because it's not exactly in the greatest of condition. So this is actually a park and arboretum, which is why you're going to see things like benches here. There's even a grill over here. So look at that. You can come out here, cook your steaks and your hot dogs. I don't know if I'd be cooking anything on top of this, but you could if you really wanted to. So pretty awesome grounds. Right down here is the creek they were talking about fishing in. I think this is actually called, if I'm not mistaken, like Trout Creek or something like that. Again, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess at one point there were trout in this little creek down here. I can't imagine there are anymore. It doesn't really look like a type of creek that would actually have a fish in it, but maybe there are still trout. Maybe you could still come down here and do some fishing. Look at these old trees. You can actually scan the QR codes on these. Again, this is an arboretum as well. And look at someone lives down inside there. This is a sycamore. Look at that. I wonder if this here is also maybe a witness tree. There's a giant sycamore in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania that we've actually been to. We'll probably go back out there again. I love going out there. It's a huge, giant sycamore called the witness tree because it was actually there during the encampment of Valley Forge. Oh, there is nothing going on here. Wow. This creek is pretty much dry. Look at that. I honestly expected there to be a whole heck of a lot more water down here. That's interesting. So maybe this creek only really runs when there's major rainstorms, because right now it's just a puddle of stagnant water. I was not expecting that. But at one point, apparently you could fish for trout inside there. Back in, was it 1787? You could fish for trout in that creek down there. Now, not so much. So pretty awesome, guys. And I had no idea this was here. A bit of George Washington history, Valley Forge history. Again, this was the headquarters for General Muhlenberg during the encampment of Valley Forge. And then 10 years afterwards, George Washington came back out here and stayed in this house for a couple of days. Pretty awesome. Must have been pretty neat to come back 10 years after the war, revisit the area, talk to farmers you probably talked to 10 years prior during your encampment, visit the encampment. Again, it's about a 5-minute walk in that direction. Valley Forge is right next to us right now. So pretty awesome. I want to take a look at these structures over here really quick. I'm loving this. Again, history that I was not aware of. Had no idea this sat back here. I've driven down that road, more road, so many times. And I never knew that sitting right off of I'm winded. I walked up that slight little incline there and I'm completely winded, which is why I need to get out of the house more. Anyway, so driving up and down more road, hundreds if not thousands of times in my life, especially those 14 years that I worked right down the road. I had no idea this sat back here in the woods. Pretty awesome. Looks like there's a little maybe barn over here. This is actually really cool looking. Or maybe this was not a barn. Maybe this was a, I don't know what this was. There's actually a fireplace, 2 fireplaces it looks. Who knows what this used to be. Whatever it is though, it's actually pretty awesome looking with all the old doors on it. Look at that down there. There was a basement to whatever this was. Again, I don't know if it was a house or what, but at one point it actually had a basement. Look at this. I love all these old historical buildings. I might not know what they're for, but they're pretty awesome looking. Then you have this one here. Look, this one actually looks like it's been sort of renovated a bit. And there's these old stables here. I'm going to assume this maybe was where they kept the horses. Look at the old like watering areas. There are so many carpenter bees flying around here. Look at that. There's like literally hundreds of carpenter bees flying around right now. Carpenter bees are the bane of my existence. Those little jerks, they like to eat my patio, because my patio is done in wood, and they like to bore holes. See all the holes in the wood there? They're carpenter bees, not gonna hurt me, but all those holes in the wood, those are from carpenter bees. They're basically they're basically termite bees. They bore holes and they eat the wood, and it makes your structures fall down. They're awful, horrible creatures, and there's literally hundreds of them flying around right now. Pretty awesome to see. And the watering areas right there. Pretty cool. Look at the old birdhouse on like the cupola up there. This is so cool. So old stables right here. Pretty amazing. Like I said, I had no idea this sat back here so many times driving up and down this road. Who knew? Those geese knew. Those geese knew. I did not know that the Moore house sat back here right off of Moore Road. So if you guys are looking for this, it's pretty easy to find. You can just drive down, again, Moore Road in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. There's a credit union right there. I'm parked over at the credit union. I highly recommend just parking your car there or parking over here behind the credit union in the actual office complex area. And then boom, you're right here at the Jane Moore house. Check out a little Revolutionary War, pre-Revolutionary War and post-Revolutionary War history right here in the King of Prussia area. Not that there's not a ton of Revolutionary War history here in the King of Prussia area. Again, Valley Forge right over there, Brandywine not too far away, Germantown not too far away, Philadelphia only a couple of miles down the actual highway. So right in the heart right now of Revolutionary War history. Pretty amazing. If you guys have ever been out here, leave a comment down below. Let me know about your travels out here. Your travels, did you fall over sticks? Let me know about your travels out here to the Moore house if you guys have been out here. Like I said, I had no idea this existed. I was very happy to stumble upon this yesterday. This is why I always highly recommend pulling over and reading the historical markers, because sometimes they tell you about things that happen in the area, and they always tell you about things that happened in the area, but sometimes those things are still there. Sometimes they'll say, like, right in this area is a house, or this happened or that happened, or right down the road is this thing or that thing. You never know what you might find and what you might stumble upon. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. Just wanted to get back out here. Wanted to walk around, take a look at this. I'm gonna take some photos, put them up on my Instagram. If you guys do not follow me on Instagram, Retro Rest Stop on Instagram. Definitely do that. Pretty awesome place. Hopefully they figured out what to do with this place, whether they turn it into a museum or even a cafeteria or some kind of historical thing. Apparently they're trying to get the arboretum here kind of back up and running again. They have the little QR codes on the trees and whatnot, but hopefully they figured out what to do with this. The township figures it out and they restore this building, turn it into something. I would love to see this once again in operation, serving whatever purpose it might be serving. They were talking about maybe making it into like an art center, whatever they do. I would love to actually go inside there someday and take a look at the insides of this very historical house where George Washington once slept. All right, guys, so that is it. So as always, thank you all so much for checking out this video. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check down below for links to Patreon. If you guys do become a patron, I will send you a postcard every single month from the road. Also check down below for a link to Spreadshirt, where you can grab yourself retro rest stop t-shirts. Proceeds both from Spreadshirt and from Patreon do go to help supporting the show, keeping the show going. So I really do appreciate it, guys. All right, that's it again from the Jane Moore house here in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, right off Moore Road, the headquarters, General Muhlenberg, during the encampment. What was that? During the encampment of Valley Forge, and then 10 years later, George Washington coming back out here, staying here, sleeping here for a couple of days. Pretty awesome. All right, guys, like I said, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you do hit that subscribe button, or you are subscribed, then I will see you in tomorrow's video. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Bye.